Academic leaders believe that the passport can simplify the transfer process while it still preserves flexibility for faculty and student choice. It changes the focus from courses, so the way learning is packaged from courses and credits, to a real focus on what a student has learned and can do. Course by course articulation is very confusing for students. We talk about it as being a little bit like the way it was traveling in Europe several years ago before the euro. You would get to the border and to exchange your currency, and somehow you would always lose a little bit of value, and at the time you got home you'd have a pocket full of coins that didn't count anywhere. Rather than have that experience for students, the academic leaders want to see a friction-free zone where students know in advance they can take their learning and it will be honored at the next campus, and they can go on their way to achieve learning past that point. We think this could speed the pathway for students to graduation, and it could also reduce their costs. We know that for students who transfer, they are likely on their pathway to a 4-year degree to take 1.2 years longer, and it's likely to cost them at least $9,000. With the passport, the advantage for students in a learning outcomes-based system versus a course-by-course transfer is they know there's an agreement in place so that their learning will be honored at the next institution, and they won't have to repeat courses. And course-by-course articulation is really labor-intensive for institutions. It's a system from an earlier era. I think when there were many fewer institutions and there were many fewer students who were transferring. And when they did transfer, they were most likely to transfer to a nearby institution. So the amount of bookkeeping was much less than it is today. I mean, for students, it's so confusing because it's a little like looking at one of those route maps that's in an in-flight magazine, where the plane flies some places but not others. That's the way it is for transfer students. The course might be accepted at one institution but not another institution, and it's very confusing. So, and today, with 45% or approximately 45% of students who earn a 4-year degree, having started at a 2-year institution, they have to transfer. And so it's important that we try to make that experience as seamless as we possibly can. I think for faculty, the advantage is that they can make some changes in the content of their course or the syllabus of their course, and it still works for the passport because as long as they're addressing those learning outcomes and as long as they're assessing the proficiency criteria with them, then it still works. Whereas in a course-by-course articulation system, that might trigger a review at many different institutions. I think also in the passport, one of the advantages is that there is a quality assurance component to it, where institutions agree to share data with institutions, other institutions in the passport. So for passport students who transfer, the receiving institution will send data through a central data repository back to the sending institution for 2 terms after the student transfers. So the sending institution gets to find out how well its former students perform at a variety of institutions, and they can use that data for continuous improvement. So it's not just about using learning outcomes to streamline the transfer process, it's also about ensuring the quality and the coherence of the transfer students' learning experience. A higher percentage of underserved students and first generation students attend two-year schools, and so they have to transfer. And when it's not guaranteed, they don't know whether that's going to work or not. And there are many reasons why students may not transfer, even when they've said that they intend to transfer. And one of the biggest reasons is losing credits and having to repeat courses. For this particular population, that's very problematic. They don't have the extra time and the extra money to do that. Another aspect of this that's a complication is that we live in the era of choice, and institutions have many different courses for students to choose from. Sometimes they make good choices and sometimes they don't. Many of the institutions do not have the resources to provide as much academic advising and counseling perhaps as these students need. And so the passport ensures that these students are not punished, that they will have their learning recognized, that they will not have to repeat courses, but rather that they can pick up where they left off at their last institution. The advantage of the reverse transfer process is that even if a student has transferred before they earn an associate's degree, they can continue to earn credit towards that degree, so that if they have to drop out or stop out because of some life event, they have that credential, and that's an incentive for them to come back and finish their four-year degree. Today's student body is very mobile. Indeed, about 33% of students transfer, and of those, 27% cross state lines. This is much higher percentage of students moving than many thought when we began this project. For the United States to remain globally competitive, we need to increase the number of college graduates. But transfer is a major hurdle to doing that. We simply must find a solution for it, or we'll end up with what we have today: too many students with some college, but falling into the abyss of some college, but no credential. We must involve faculty in these reform efforts, because it is the faculty that have the responsibility for knowing what students should know and be able to do. It's their responsibility to be able to measure their proficiency and to provide them with a learning experience whereby they can achieve those learning outcomes. When faculty across institutions and states agree to a common set of learning outcomes and proficiency criteria, we build a strong infrastructure for transfer, and that is a system by which everyone can benefit. We need to recognize that times have changed. Fixing transfer within states is only part of the solution. We need to fix transfer across the country. And this would then allow students to move wherever life takes them and still finish that credential. So we need these broad scale efforts, and the passport is heading in that direction.